Revenge with Karen. I knew something was off the moment they brought out champagne flutes at an all-hands scheduled for Tuesday morning. Ain't no good news ever needs that much bubbly, and that little notice. Reed Talcott, new VP of Corporate Strategy, fresh from some visionary stint at a failing fintech, strutted to the mic like a rooster hopped up on stock options. Said he had transformational news. And then, between the slide showing Sablix acquired for $400M and the one with the confetti animation, he dropped it. And in line with optimization, Brenda Hartman's position is being eliminated, effective immediately. No warning, no follow-up, not even a damn thank you. The entire room turned into a malfunctioning Alexa. Blink. Silence. Stiff chairs creaked under stunned developers and jittery product managers pretending not to look at me. I didn't say a word, just stood, smoothed out my charcoal blazer, walked past the hors d'oeuvres they wheeled in like this was a goddamn wedding. I made it to the exit before I heard Reed's voice trailing off behind me. We appreciate everything Brenda's done in the past. Cute. Quick side note, 97% of folks who listen to these stories never subscribe. If you're enjoying this ride through corporate backstabbery, do us a solid. Hit that like and subscribe button. Genuinely helps the crew making these tales of vengeance and spreadsheets happen. Anyway, the badge deactivation was immediate, all right. I tried to scan out of the building, and the reader blinked red like I was shoplifting toner. Security gave me that half-sympathetic, half-bored look, like they'd seen the footage already. Reed must have coordinated the whole damn scene with precision worthy of a Bond villain and the soul of a dishwasher. I walked. No tears, no dramatic exit line. Just me and the sound of my sensible heels on polished concrete. 11 years, 4 patents, 2 product suites, and I didn't even get a farewell bagel. Outside, the wind slapped me like karma in a pantsuit. My phone pinged Monica, my old dev lead, texting frantic questions. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She'd find out soon enough. Back in that room, popped champagne while the interns clapped like they understood what was happening. They thought they were about to be rich. What they didn't know was that every single line of code that mattered ran through a firewall they couldn't see. Because for the past 11 years, while they were busy uploading selfies from Team Building Thursdays, I'd been building the intellectual spine of Sablix and quietly ensuring it stayed mine. I wasn't listed in the press kits, never appeared in marketing decks. Hell, once misspelled my name on the prototype packaging. That's how invisible I made myself, and it paid off. Because while they toasted to a $400M future, I walked 2 blocks south to a building with no sign, no fanfare. Just a polished steel lobby and a woman named Denise who handed me a manila envelope with a knowing look. I signed for it without speaking. The documents inside, they'd make Reed's buttocks freeze in terror. I took a seat in the lobby cafe across the street from Sablix HQ, watched the reflections of my former colleagues laugh and backslap through the tinted windows. I sipped my espresso, legs crossed like I had nowhere urgent to be. But I did, and they had no idea. The Uber driver tried to make small talk, something about the weather, and whether I was heading to lunch or court. I gave him a polite smile, said, "Just lost my job," stared out the window like the answer was etched into the skyline. He didn't ask anything else after that. The city moved like it always did. No parade for the discarded. No ticker tape for the woman who just got booted by a man whose only invention was a 6-slide PowerPoint deck titled Synergy. The car pulled up to First Haven Bank, a stone building tucked between a nail salon and a yoga studio that smelled like patchouli and capitalism. I walked in and gave my name. The clerk didn't blink, just nodded and led me to the back. Vault room, hum of temperature control, smell of steel and institutional dust. I pressed my thumb to the biometric pad and signed the logbook. Box 2187 slid out like it had been waiting for this exact moment. The briefcase inside was matte black, solid, no logos. It looked like something you'd use to barter nuclear codes in a Cold War thriller. Next to it, a translucent thumb drive with a strip of red tape and my initials sharpied on it like a school lunchbox. I didn't open either, not yet. On the ride back, different Uber, different driver, same silence, I thought about the day I packed that box. My father had just been diagnosed, liver cancer. He knew he wouldn't make it to see my promotion, as he called it, even though he knew damn well they weren't going to promote a woman who refused to golf with the board. He was a patent attorney. Old school, suit and tie to mow the lawn. He told me once, "Brenda, if they won't see you, make damn sure they need you." We'd spent 3 weeks drawing up documents, filing things under shell LLCs, transferring provisional rights through airtight trusts. It was boring, brutal paperwork. It meant that even if they tried to steal what I built, they'd have to do it with a legal blowtorch. He smiled through the pain when he notarized the last signature. Just in case, he said, sliding the papers into the fireproof case, because you're too good not to be betrayed. Now I was back in my apartment. Quiet, clean, the kind of clean that makes grief echo. I set the briefcase on my kitchen island, entered the 4-digit code. Click. Inside were 12 manila folders, color-coded by product suite. A master list of active patents, each one with my name listed first, primary inventor, not just a contributor. Several hadn't been publicly registered yet, but the provisional protections were airtight. The thumb drive contained encrypted schematics, source code backups, and a comprehensive revision history going back 8 years. But it was the letter at the bottom that made me sit down. Letterhead, Belro Capital Group, Legal Department, signed by the General Counsel himself. The letter confirmed receipt of my earlier communications. Stated clearly, should Sablix choose to proceed with asset transfer or intellectual property reassignment, be advised that acquisition is contingent on inventor release. Currently, only Brenda Hartman possesses such authority. They didn't just need the patents. They needed me. Leaned back in my chair and let out a slow breath. There it was, the hurt, not because they fired me, but because I'd given them every chance not to. I could have made this messy from the start. Could have thrown flags, demanded titles, screamed when they cut me out of presentations. But I thought maybe results would speak. Turns out results only whisper. Power signs the mic check. So now I wouldn't whisper either. I would speak in contracts, in license agreements. The sudden, deafening silence that follows a $400M acquisition hitting a legal brick wall. I didn't need to scream to set fire to the building. I just needed to light the right match. Monica lived in one of those rehabbed lofts where everything looked expensive and nothing had right angles. Edison bulbs hanging from twine, succulent walls, a cheese board so curated it probably had a publicist. She answered the door wearing an apron that said, "Alexa, fill my wine." I hadn't even stepped inside before she pulled me into a hug that reeked of pity and Merlot. "Oh, honey," she whispered. I heard. God, Reed is such a human LinkedIn profile. Come in, I've got Pinot chilling and lasagna that won't judge your life choices." I smiled and stepped into the glow of soft furniture and curated comfort. The kind of place that wanted you to feel safe while you bled out on the rug. We made small talk. Let her fill the silence with outrage. She ranted about Reed, about how the acquisition was probably just a glorified bake sale with suits. She speculated about lawsuits, job openings, maybe a sabbatical. "You know," she said, topping off my glass, "you should apply to Kestrel Systems. They've got a CTO who doesn't actively fear women who use their brains." I could put in a word. "I appreciate that," I said. "But I've got a meeting tomorrow." She paused mid-sip. "Interview? Something like that." I let it hang just long enough to make her frown. "Bren, don't play cryptic sage with me. I know that tone. You're either plotting revenge or starting a cult." I smiled, the kind you give before detonating something and walking away in slow motion. No cults. Yet. We sat down to eat. The lasagna was good. The kind of good that made you wonder why comfort food always came with a side of emotional collapse. She tried to ask more questions. Kind of meeting? With who? When? But I gave her the polite nod and deflect that HR trained me to use when engineers asked if we could move faster on timelines. I declined dessert, said I had some documents to prep. She offered tiramisu like it was a peace treaty. I smiled again, but this time it was surgical. As I stood to leave, I placed a single business card face down on her marble countertop. Matte finish. No company name, just my name, Brenda Hartman, and a new email address. No title, no logo. Monica picked it up like it was radioactive. "This looks ominous." "Just in case," I said, slipping my coat on. Things change fast these days. She watched me like she suddenly wasn't sure if I'd just lost everything or if she should be taking notes. I left her loft with the scent of rosemary and red wine trailing behind me, and for the first time that day, I allowed myself a real breath. Monica was the only person I trusted enough to get even that sliver of insight, not because she'd help me, but because she'd remember this night when the headlines broke. And she'd know, I warned her. Quietly. That's always the best kind. Conference room 4B was 3 floors above the main lobby of Belro Capital Group's headquarters, a frosted glass tomb lit by recessed LED strips, and the slow blink of a wall-mounted Cisco, kind of room where acquisitions were signed, startups were euthanized, and empires were quietly redirected without anyone screaming. I arrived 5 minutes early, as a courtesy, not to them, but to myself. Power doesn't show up late, it waits. 2 men and a woman walked in, all in that same uniform of quiet money, navy suits, posture like knives, smiles too practiced to trust. One of them, the older man with the kind of voice that made you instinctively sit straighter, introduced himself as Jonathan Fields, general counsel. He didn't offer a handshake. I didn't ask for one. We weren't expecting, he started. I know, I said, but you should have been. I slid the black folio across the table, the same one from the briefcase. Opened it with one clean motion, like peeling back a sheet from a crime scene. First page, a notarized list of patents with one name typed clean across the top, Brenda Hartman. Second, the filing logs, timestamps, provisional holds, and legal transfers, every dotted line wrapped tight in a cocoon of ironclad ownership. Third, a letter from Fields himself, dated last fall, acknowledging IP dependency and noting that any potential acquisition would be contingent upon inventor cooperation. Jonathan read it with the detached intensity of a man finding his own name in a ransom note. The strategist, young, eager, analyst-blooded, looked at me with dawning panic. So, are you saying Sabelix doesn't? They don't own the core IP, I said, calm as a surgeon. They assumed. They were wrong. He blinked, then who does? I didn't smile. I didn't flinch. I just met his eyes and said, you're looking at her. Silence stretched for 10 full seconds. It was beautiful. Jonathan cleared his throat. Are you planning to litigate? No, I'm planning to negotiate. He raised an eyebrow. With us? Not through Sabelix. I leaned back slightly. They fired me on stage. Maybe let them finish their cake before they choke on it. The younger man let out an involuntary noise, half laugh, half gasp. I ignored him, pulled out a flash drive. This contains licensing proposals. I'm willing to partner, directly, strategically. You get the tech. People who built it, clean, without corporate bloat. Jonathan looked at the drive like it was a detonator. You're serious, deadly. Another silence, longer this time, heavy with recalculations. May I ask, Jonathan said finally, why come to us now? Because you're about to spend $400 million on a house built on sand. I leaned in, and I'm the architect. He nodded once, slowly. Then to the others, clear my afternoon, I stood, gathered the folio, left the flash drive. At the door, I turned back. When Reed calls, and he will, just remember, I came to you first. Then I walked out, heels echoing like a metronome of oncoming consequences. Outside, the sky was sharp and blue, the kind of color that makes people believe in karma. By the time I hit the street, I knew two things. One, the acquisition was on life support. Two, I was holding the oxygen. The first ripple was a Slack message in the Hash General channel at 10:42 a.m. Anyone else notice the press release disappeared from the investor site? Then another, 20 minutes later. Tuesday all hands postponed. Anyone know why? By noon, the whisper stream had gone full Niagara. People started circling desks again like it was 2012, hushed voices, nervous laughs, eyes darting toward the glass meeting rooms where managers gathered and emerged paler than they went in. At 1:07 p.m., the CTO, Mark Lehner, gray-bearded and usually unbothered, was seen being pulled into conference room D by legal and a junior board member. He didn't come out for 3 hours. Inside that room, a folder marked patent holding structure discrepancy, a spreadsheet with mismatched entries, a half-dozen PDFs labeled inventorship status. At the top of the heap, my name, over and over again. Apparently someone, likely an intern working due diligence cleanup, had tried to verify the company's IP assignments before forwarding them to Belrose lawyers. They hit a snag when the system returned ownership unverified. Primary rights, Hartman, B. Oops. The panic started with a murmur and bloomed into corporate arrhythmia. Lehner reportedly said one sentence when he emerged. You need to talk to Brenda. Reed naturally tried to downplay it. Called an emergency exec stand-up, rolled his sleeves to signal crisis mode, and tossed around words like posturing and leverage play. Don't worry, he said to the room, she's bluffing. Legal didn't share his optimism. One junior counsel apparently excused herself to vomit in the restroom. At 5:23 p.m., I got a call from Sabelix HR. The number flashed on my phone like a dying insect. I didn't answer. At 5:24, I got an email. Subject: clarification requested patent assignments. Dear Miss Hartman, hope you're well. We'd appreciate the chance to connect and discuss some emerging questions regarding prior IP agreements. Emerging questions. That's a nice way to spell we just realized we sold a $400 million lie. I forwarded it to my counsel, then made myself a cup of tea. From my apartment window, I could see the Sablix building 3 blocks down, its logo glowing dumbly against the dusk like it hadn't just imploded. The irony wasn't lost on me. Reed had tried to surgically remove what he thought was dead weight. Instead, he severed the artery and left the body twitching. They didn't just fire an employee. They amputated the part of the company that was the company. Let them sweat. Let them huddle. Let them panic in rooms I once built from nothing. 'Cause tomorrow, they'd learn the difference between owning an asset and thinking you do. By Thursday morning, the news vacuum had become deafening. Sablix's internal dashboard still showed the acquisition banner, $400M and growing, but the ticker beneath it, the one linked to updates and PR announcements, dead link, error 404, no fresh tweets, no press outreach, no media interviews with smiling execs in blue blazers and buzzword bingo. Only thing moving was the rumor mill, and it was grinding like a busted copier. Inside the company, Reed scheduled an emergency open queue and a town hall at 11 o'clock a.m. sharp. No stream, no recordings, phones off, notes not permitted. The kind of meeting that made even the office plants wilt. Reed stood at the front of the cafeteria, sleeves rolled up, chin held high like a CEO in a made-for-streaming disaster movie. Behind him, a slideshow with phrases like maintaining momentum and we're still on track. And laughably, Brenda's departure was planned. He tried to keep his voice steady, said the press delay was just a strategic pause, that the legal stuff is standard IP housekeeping. No one asked questions, not because they believed him, because no one wanted to be remembered as the person who challenged him before the collapse. A few folks clapped, half-hearted, mostly managers. Everyone else just nodded like hostages told to act natural. But what Reed didn't see, what he couldn't control, was what happened after. Slack DMs buzzing like hornets, screenshots of old commits, Jira logs with my initials, people remembering who debugged the payment gateway in one weekend, who rewrote the backend from scratch when their first rockstar hire left mid-sprint. Then it happened. At 3:19 p.m., got an email from a junior dev named Lee Tran. I hadn't spoken to him in over a year. Last I remembered, he was fresh out of UC Davis, nervous around espresso machines and stand-ups. Subject, just thank you body. Brenda, I don't know what's happening exactly, but people are talking. You built this place. Everyone knows it, not Reed, not the board, you. I just wanted to say thank you. For the systems, for the mentorship, for giving a damn when no one else did. No emojis, no hashtags, just quiet truth. I read it twice. Then again. Then I smiled, one of those small, involuntary things that doesn't need witnesses. I stripped the metadata, anonymized the message, and forwarded it to one person, Brendan Weiss, CEO of Belro Capital. Subject line, your next team, no message body, no explanation needed. Let him read it. Let him see that behind the marketing decks and spreadsheets was a company held up by code, loyalty, and a woman they fired between applause breaks. That's how regimes fall. Not with riots, with whispers. By sundown, I had 7 more emails like Elise, and Reed, he was busy filming a video for LinkedIn, talking about navigating transitional turbulence. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. The suite smelled like lemon oil and desperation. 4 board members sat across from me at the glass table in the Hudson Regency downtown. Big view of the skyline, like the city could forgive what they'd done. At the center, Martin Leclerc, interim chairman and professional handwringer. To his right, a VP of investor relations with the kind of tan that said doesn't code. Left of him, general counsel, lips pursed so tight she looked like she'd been chewing gravel. And at the end of the table, a stain no one could scrub out, Reed Talcott. Jacket off, collar open, face frozen in some blend of smug and scrambled. They didn't offer small talk. Martin cleared his throat like it might buy him time. Brenda, we want to extend our sincerest. I cut him off with a smile. Let's not pretend this is about sincerity. He swallowed. Right, of course. Look, we acknowledge there was a misstep. Reed acted in haste. I raised an eyebrow. Firing me at a public all-hands mid-acquisition? That's not haste. That's performance art. A pause. Then the VP of Investor Relations slid a folder across the table. We're prepared to offer full reinstatement. A substantial signing bonus. New title, Chief Innovation Officer. Public apology if you want it. Total control of the IP team. She said it like she was listing wine pairings. I didn't touch the folder. Just tilted my head. You think I want back in? He'd finally spoke, low and rehearsed. Brenda, be reasonable. You're about to kill your own legacy. I turned to him, full eye contact. You were never part of it. His jaw tightened. I leaned back, calm, slow breath, let them squirm. Then I said the only 3 words that mattered. You already fired me. Martin looked like he'd just watched someone burn a winning lottery ticket. So you're refusing the offer? No, I said. I'm refusing your frame. Their faces flickered. I'm not a disgruntled ex-employee trying to claw her way back. I'm not mad. I'm not bitter. I'm done. And I'm building something better without your politics, without your PR stunts, and without your approvals. The room turned cold. The kind of cold that makes glass feel heavier in your hand. I stood, didn't shake hands, didn't take the folder. As I reached the door, I heard Reed mutter, "You'll regret this." I stopped, looked over my shoulder. I doubt that. Even if I did, I'd still sleep better than you. Then I left. No fireworks, no shouting. Just a door closing on the last room that thought it owned me. What they didn't understand, what they never understood, is that I wasn't fighting for my place at their table. I was building my own, and I already had the blueprints. The paperwork was thinner than I expected. Belrose Senior Counsel met me in a private lounge at their law firm's satellite office. No press, no suits posturing for the company blog. Just a bottle of still water, a single Mont Blanc pen, and a woman named Mira who reviewed every clause like a surgeon preps an incision. Licensing terms are flexible, she said, sliding the final page toward me. Consulting retainer, equity stake in the post-acquisition structure, and full creative autonomy. They understand who built the bones. I scanned the document. No fine print. No vague language. Just acknowledgement on paper of something that had lived in silence for too long. I was the product. I was the plan. There was only one condition I added. I want 5 names added to the transfer package, I said, pushing forward a short list. Mira scanned them. These engineers, they were always the core, I said. Everything Sabelix sold came from these 6 desks and 3 too small monitors shoved next to the bathroom. Mira smiled. I'll have onboarding ready by Friday. I signed, no flourish. No dramatic pause, just ink on paper. By noon, the deal was done. No announcement, no LinkedIn clout post. Just a quiet internal transfer. The IP rights were now licensed directly to Belro through my LLC. And with that, the foundation of Sabelix slipped out from under them like a magician's tablecloth. At 3:42 p.m., someone sent me a screenshot. Reed Talcott's LinkedIn profile had gone dark. No job title. No company listed. Just a banner that read open to work. He'd been removed, cleanly, quietly. At 5:06, my inbox pinged with a message from Brendan Weiss, Belrose CEO. Subject, thank you body. Brenda, you're the reason we're still interested. That's not flattery, it's fact. If you ever want more than a consulting role, my door is open. We're lucky you walked in when you did. I didn't reply, just archived the message and sat back on my couch, looking out the window as dusk settled into the city. No balloons, no parade, just traffic noise and the low hum of my radiator. Victory didn't taste like champagne. It tasted like silence, like not having to explain yourself anymore, like watching the machine that discarded you stall out and realizing you don't care enough to gloat. I wasn't done, not yet, but I'd stopped playing defense. Now I was designing the game. It hit at 9:01 a.m. like a dropped transmission. Slack channels across Sabelix lit up like a server crash, notifications exploding in #legal, #product, #all-hands-ops. The pinned message was short, brutal. Subject, acquisition status update body. Effective immediately, Belro Capital has withdrawn from the Sabelix acquisition agreement, citing material misrepresentation of IP holdings. Further questions may be directed to legal. No emojis, no signatures, just corporate guillotine language. By 9:04, the whispers had turned into gasps. Executives scrambling like cats in a rainstorm, VP assistants yanking their bosses out of one-on-ones mid-sentence. HR unavailable until further notice. And Reed, he stormed into the boardroom like a man whose house had just disappeared, but still had the keys in his hand. Sitting at the center of the table was a flat, cream envelope delivered by courier. No name, no note, just the weight of consequence. He tore it open and pulled out a single sheet of paper. It read, all intellectual property rights remain with the original inventor. Acquisition withdrawn due to material misrepresentation. Purchaser no anger, just finality. And taped to the top, a neon yellow sticky note. Sharpie, all caps. Next time, read the bylines. Say he stared at it for 30 full seconds, that his hands shook when he sat down, that someone asked if he wanted to release a statement and he didn't answer. Just mumbled something about precedent and damn signatures. Across town, I was on my balcony with a cup of coffee and a laptop. Dashboard open, metrics climbing. My new consulting firm, Hartman & Core, was already onboarding its second major client. Valuation projections had doubled since Friday. Below that, a ping from Mira. Client #3 wants to meet. Should I book Wednesday or Thursday? I took a sip of coffee, clicked Wednesday, and just watched. Watched the skyline. Watched the slow, grinding collapse of an empire that tried to sell what it never owned. They never saw it coming, because I never raised my voice, never fired a shot. I just moved the foundation and let gravity do the rest. Big thanks, you legends of the old office days. Subscribe to keep the switch-flicking chaos alive. Your ex-boss is shaking in their loafers.